Welcome to our deep dive today on the Rothschild Dynasty. We are going to be trying to untangle this fascinating web of finance, power, and intrigue, and we're going to be pulling specifically from excerpts that you've provided from the Rothschild Dynasty, written by Dr. John Coleman. Prepare to be surprised.
It's really crucial to note that while Coleman's book offers, a valuable perspective, it's also important to remember that every historical account, carries the author's own lens and interpretation. So our goal today is going to be to really illuminate key figures and moments in this history, and hopefully empower you to form your own, well-informed viewpoint.
Okay, so let's set the stage. Our story begins in 18th century Frankfurt. We're in Germany, and we meet Mayer Amschel Rothschild. He starts as a humble trader and pawnbroker, yet his ambitions clearly extend far beyond those modest beginnings.
What makes his journey so captivating is how skillfully he maneuvered within the very rigid social structures of his time. Imagine, leveraging financial expertise and strategic relationships to gain access to the aristocracy. This is a realm that was typically closed off to Jewish individuals. And it's this that really sets a powerful precedent for the dynasty's future endeavors.
So it sounds like Mayer Amschel was a brilliant strategist.
Absolutely.
He understood that to truly dominate, one must divide and conquer.
Right.
And that's exactly what he did with his 5 sons, right?
Exact.
Each son strategically placed to oversee financial operations across Europe. And in doing so, he wove this vast network of influence that spanned the continent.
And this division wasn't just geographical. Each son specialized in a distinct aspect of finance. And so this really cemented the family's grip on various sectors. And I think that approach highlights Mayer Amschel's extraordinary long-term vision and his genius for organization.
It seems like he really cultivated an atmosphere of extreme discretion. He instilled a profound adherence to Jewish traditions and demanded absolute secrecy within the family. And in a lot of ways, this practice fueled speculation and mystique, shrouding the family in an aura of enigma.
And, secrecy played a vital role in their success. I mean, it shielded their operations from scrutiny. It allowed them to act discreetly, to an extent that many of their rivals could only envy.
Speaking of secrets, Dr. Coleman challenges the common belief that Mayer Amschel's wealth stems solely from his pawnbroking business. He presents a more nuanced story involving strategic partnerships, most notably with Prince William X of Hesse-Kassel.
Coleman underscores Mayer Amschel's significant role in managing the prince's vast fortune. Notably, he even profited during the prince's exile during the French Revolution. And this connection granted him access to levels of wealth and influence far beyond pawnbroking.
So we had this incredibly astute patriarch who orchestrated the rise of his family through a blend of financial prowess, strategic alliances, and this unwavering commitment to secrecy. Where does the narrative lead us next?
Well, this is where Nathan Rothschild, one of Mayer Amschel's sons, arguably the most famous, steps onto the stage. He relocated to England and quickly established himself as a force on the London Stock Exchange.
Now, if I recall correctly, Nathan wasn't one to shy away from bold tactics.
Right, not at all.
He's notorious for his audacious, albeit incredibly profitable, manipulation of government bonds, especially during the Napoleonic Wars.
That's absolutely accurate. Nathan possessed this remarkable ability to exploit market fluctuations, and his maneuvers during wartime, while ethically debatable, undoubtedly solidified his standing as a financial powerhouse. There's a particularly captivating story about how he capitalized on the Battle of Waterloo.
Oh, I've heard whispers of this story. It involves profiting from advanced knowledge of the battle's outcome. Can you elaborate?
The account suggests that Nathan received intelligence about Wellington's victory before it became public knowledge. Using this information, he strategically began selling on the stock exchange, creating the impression of a British defeat. Then, when the actual news broke, prices naturally soared, and Nathan reaped immense profits.
Wow. It's a remarkable example of financial maneuvering. This tale raises an intriguing question. Did Nathan's actions cross the boundary from astute business acumen to deliberate manipulation? What's your perspective?
Well, that's a multifaceted question that historians continue to dissect. While Nathan's actions undeniably influenced market outcomes, he did operate within the prevailing structure of the stock exchange, albeit with exceptional skill and audacity. Ultimately, I think, individuals must reach their own judgments on this matter.
That's a fair assessment. So the Rothschilds firmly established their financial dominion, but their influence expanded beyond the realm of finance.
Correct. They commanded significant political power, extending their reach into the British government itself. Precisely. And this is where we encounter the enigmatic figure of Benjamin Disraeli, England's first prime minister of Jewish descent. His relationship with the Rothschilds is a topic of immense speculation.
Ah, this sounds intriguing. What kind of connection existed between them? Were they close confidants, fierce rivals, or somewhere in between?
Well, some historians propose that Disraeli might have functioned as a political representative for the dynasty, advocating for their interests within the government. His involvement in critical events, such as the acquisition of the Suez Canal shares, lends weight to this theory.
The Suez Canal, a pivotal moment in history. Securing control over that vital trade route was a significant power play. Are you suggesting that Disraeli may have acted as the Rothschilds' insider, subtly guiding British policy to favor their interests? That's captivating.
It's a compelling possibility, and one that underscores the intricate relationship between financial and political power. Disraeli's political maneuvering during that era certainly aligns with the Rothschilds' known objectives.
This family's influence seems to extend everywhere. But wait, we haven't even discussed James Rothschild, the brother who made his mark in France. What's his story?
Oh, James is an intriguing individual. He rose to prominence in France, becoming a dominant figure in both finance and politics. And his journey exemplifies the Rothschilds' transition towards large-scale investments as he heavily financed infrastructure projects, particularly railroads.
Railroads. How forward-thinking. He clearly recognized their potential to revolutionize transportation and, of course, generate substantial profits. I imagine he hosted some legendary gatherings, too. Didn't he have a magnificent mansion in Paris?
Indeed, his mansion on Rue Lafitte was renowned for its grandeur and the influential figures who frequented its halls. From royalty to prominent artists and intellectuals, it was a symbol of James's immense wealth and social status.
It's a remarkable picture of a life lived on such a grand scale. But amidst the extravagance, there's a tale that reveals a different facet of James. The story of a priest, Father Thomas, who vanished in Damascus. What transpired in that incident?
Well, Father Thomas's disappearance proved to be a pivotal event. It really showcases the Rothschilds' global reach and influence. The circumstances surrounding the disappearance pointed toward murder, and the accused individuals happened to be Jewish. Naturally, the Jewish community cried foul, alleging that confessions were coerced.
I presume James took immediate action,
Yeah.
utilizing his connections and influence to protect his fellow Jewish individuals.
Absolutely. He orchestrated a formidable pressure campaign, leveraging his political clout to guarantee a fair trial for the accused. His endeavors ultimately secured their release, demonstrating the family's ability to influence even international affairs.
The Rothschilds were undoubtedly a formidable force. They amassed unimaginable wealth, molded political landscapes, and even intervened in international incidents. However, their story doesn't end there. We still need to uncover their alleged involvement in revolutions, their controversial role in the creation of the Federal Reserve, and their enduring legacy.
You're right. We've merely scratched the surface of this intricate and captivating dynasty. Get ready, as our journey continues in part 2 of our deep dive.
So we left off discussing James Rothschild's remarkable influence in 19th century France. Now let's explore a more controversial aspect of the Rothschilds' narrative, their alleged connection to revolutions.
Well, you see, Dr. Coleman suggests this link between the family and the rise of International Socialism, even portraying them as these puppet masters orchestrating these upheavals from behind the scenes. It's definitely a compelling theory, but it does beg the question, were they truly masterminding these events or simply capitalizing on the resulting instability?
It's certainly a provocative claim. Coleman specifically points to their alleged role in the French Revolution of 1848, which led to the downfall of King Louis Philippe and the subsequent rise of Louis Napoleon.
He argues that the Rothschilds actually financed revolutionary movements to further their own objectives, destabilizing nations to gain control over their financial systems.
So the suggestion is that they backed opposing sides in these conflicts, ensuring their own interest prevailed regardless of the victor. Almost like a game of chess, where they strategically sacrifice pawns to achieve that ultimate checkmate.
Precisely. By supporting rival factions, they could manipulate events from multiple angles, safeguarding their interests no matter the outcome. If true, it's a chillingly effective strategy.
Dr. Coleman points to a specific event that seems to implicate James Rothschild, the Paris Commune of 1871. He describes a city consumed by flames, public buildings reduced to rubble. Yet amidst this widespread destruction, the Rothschild mansion remained untouched, a curious detail that certainly sparks the imagination.
It's a striking image, isn't it? Coleman uses this anecdote to suggest that the Rothschilds might have orchestrated the commune's violence, strategically directing it to spare their own property. This narrative really feeds into the perception of them as puppet masters wielding immense influence to orchestrate events for their personal gain.
It certainly makes one wonder about the extent of their influence and the length they were willing to go to protect their interests.
Hmm.
It's like a scene from a historical thriller, leaving us to contemplate the line between truth and speculation.
The Paris Commune raises profound questions about their involvement in this tumultuous chapter of French history. Were they truly the architects of these events, or were they simply adept at navigating the chaos, ensuring their survival while others perished? It's a debate that continues to intrigue historians to this day.
Let's shift our focus across the Atlantic to the United States. Dr. Coleman delves into the contentious establishment of the Federal Reserve System, alleging the involvement of a so-called Rothschild agent named Paul Warburg.
Paul Warburg, a German-born banker who immigrated to the United States in the early 20th century, plays a crucial role in Coleman's narrative. He's portrayed as this key figure in the Federal Reserve's creation, acting on behalf of the Rothschilds to seize control of America's financial infrastructure.
So the theory proposes that the Federal Reserve wasn't simply a reaction to financial instability, but a calculated maneuver by the Rothschilds to extend their dominion into the heart of the American economy.
Coleman contends that Warburg's influence over the Federal Reserve structure effectively handed control of the nation's monetary policy to a private banking cartel orchestrated by the Rothschilds. And while this claim is widely contested, it continues to resonate with certain groups.
It's a compelling narrative for those who distrust centralized banking systems and fear the concentration of power in the hands of a select few. Regardless of whether one accepts Coleman's interpretation, the creation of the Federal Reserve undeniably represents a pivotal moment in American financial history.
It adds another layer of complexity to the Rothschild saga, prompting us to examine the interplay between private interests and public institutions. Was the Federal Reserve a tool for economic stability or a mechanism for a powerful dynasty to further consolidate its global influence? These are questions worth pondering.
Dr. Coleman also introduces us to Congressman Louis T. McFadden, a vocal critic of the Federal Reserve. McFadden boldly accused the Fed of being a tool of international bankers, even directly implicating the Rothschilds. And to heighten the intrigue, McFadden met an untimely and unexplained end.
McFadden's accusations fueled anxieties about the true power dynamics behind the Federal Reserve, and his death, while officially attributed to natural causes, has been a source of speculation, with some suggesting foul play to silence his dissent.
His sudden demise adds a dramatic twist to the narrative, reinforcing the idea that those who dare to challenge powerful institutions might face dire consequences.
McFadden's case, regardless of the truth surrounding his passing, adds to the mystique surrounding the Federal Reserve and the Rothschilds' alleged influence. It serves as a stark reminder that dissenting voices often face marginalization or even erasure.
From revolutions to central banks, our exploration of the Rothschilds continues to unveil these intriguing connections. Next, let's turn our attention to Dr. Coleman's examination of their involvement in the Zionist movement and the creation of Israel. Okay, so we've covered their alleged involvement in revolutions and the creation of the Federal Reserve. Now let's delve into the Rothschilds' connection to the Zionist movement and the establishment of Israel, as detailed in Dr. Coleman's book.
Well, the Rothschilds have this long and intricate history with the Zionist movement. It actually dates back to the late 19th century. Coleman highlights their, pivotal role in securing the Balfour Declaration, a really crucial document that paved the way for the creation of Israel.
The Balfour Declaration is indeed significant, essentially expressing British support for a Jewish homeland in Palestine. However, it also ignited decades of conflict and remains this point of contention today.
The Balfour Declaration really exemplifies how historical events are rarely straightforward. While Zionists celebrated it as a triumph, it also laid the groundwork for the displacement of Palestinian Arabs, creating a conflict that persists to this day.
It serves as a reminder that even seemingly well-intentioned political actions can have these unintended and far-reaching consequences. Actions perceived as noble by some can inadvertently inflict pain and suffering upon others.
Precisely. The Balfour Declaration demonstrates how seemingly simple pronouncements can profoundly impact the course of history, shaping the destinies of millions and sparking conflicts that endure across generations.
So while the Rothschilds were key players in the Zionist movement where they unified in their support, were there any internal disagreements within the family or the Jewish community regarding the creation of Israel?
Well, Coleman points out that not all Jewish individuals favored establishing a Jewish state in Palestine. He specifically mentions Claude Montefiore, a prominent Jewish leader who opposed the Zionist movement on the basis of his religious convictions.
Oh, that's interesting. I'd assumed there was widespread support for the creation of Israel within the Jewish community. What were Montefiore's objections?
Well, Montefiore, along with other Orthodox Jews, held the belief that a Jewish state could only be established upon the arrival of the Messiah. They viewed the creation of Israel before this event as, a transgression against divine will, potentially even sacrilegious.
That's fascinating. It challenges this assumption of a unified Jewish viewpoint on the creation of Israel and highlights the diversity of thought within the community and these complexities of religious interpretation.
It underscores the importance of recognizing that even within, seemingly homogenous groups, there are often dissenting voices and alternative viewpoints. And the story of Israel's creation is no exception. Understanding these nuances is really essential for grasping the complexities of the conflict.
Okay, so we've explored the Rothschilds' financial endeavors, their political maneuvering, and their involvement in the Zionist movement. Now let's consider their lasting legacy. How has this dynasty shaped the world we inhabit today?
Well, that's a question that historians continue to grapple with. The Rothschilds' legacy is undeniably vast and multifaceted, encompassing both positive and negative aspects. I mean, they've been both praised for their financial innovations and condemned for their alleged manipulations.
Their story seems riddled with contradictions. They're credited with modernizing banking systems and financing these essential infrastructure projects, yet simultaneously accused of profiting from wars and manipulating governments for their own gain.
Their legacy is this complex tapestry woven with threads of brilliance, ambition, and controversy. Disentangling fact from fiction and unraveling the intricacies of their influence remains this challenge that historians continue to embrace.
It's evident that their story is far from simple, and their impact on global finance, politics, and society continues to be debated. But before we conclude our deep dive, could you maybe summarize some key takeaways for our listener?
Certainly. Let's distill this extensive history into, say, 10 crucial insights about the Rothschild dynasty.
Perfect. 10 points to encapsulate centuries of intrigue. Let's hear them.
First, recall Mayer Amschel Rothschild's humble beginnings as a trader and pawnbroker in Frankfurt. He was this visionary architect who laid the foundation for a financial empire, strategically positioning his 5 sons to achieve dominance across Europe.
And their division of labor was ingenious, right? Each son specializing in a different region and financial sector. It was a family business plan executed on this grand scale.
Absolutely. Nathan Rothschild, based in England, really embodies their financial mastery, and his audacious maneuvers in government bonds, particularly during the Napoleonic Wars, cemented his reputation as this financial titan. Remember his legendary exploitation of the Battle of Waterloo. Whether truth or embellished tale, it solidified his legacy.
And let's not forget the enigmatic Benjamin Disraeli, England's first prime minister of Jewish descent. His connection to the Rothschilds remains this fascinating puzzle. Was he a political operative for the dynasty, or simply an ambitious politician aligning himself with financial power?
A question worth contemplating. Now, James Rothschild's story embodies their ascension in France. He was this formidable figure in finance and politics, championing large-scale investments like railroads while navigating the turbulent waters of revolution.
From lavish gatherings in his opulent Parisian mansion to intervening in international incidents like the Father Thomas affair, his life was this whirlwind of influence and intrigue.
However, their legacy is far from pristine. Accusations of financing revolutions and profiting from wartime cast this long shadow, prompting us to question their role in shaping events like the Paris Commune, where their mansion miraculously survived the inferno.
And then there's the American chapter, shrouded in controversy. Paul Warburg, the alleged Rothschild agent, and his involvement in creating the Federal Reserve. It raises questions about the extent of their reach into America's financial system.
Congressman McFadden's accusations, although disputed, highlight this enduring distrust surrounding central banks and their potential for manipulation by powerful interests.
The Rothschilds' influence on the Zionist movement is another intriguing aspect of their story. Their instrumental role in securing the Balfour Declaration, a pivotal moment for the creation of Israel, also underscores the complexities and lasting consequences of political actions.
And within that narrative, remember Claude Montefiore's dissent. Not all Jewish individuals supported a state before the arrival of the Messiah, reminding us that even seemingly unified groups harbor diverse perspectives.
Wow, what an incredible journey through history. We've explored the Rothschilds' financial conquests, their political maneuvering, and their complex legacy. They've certainly left an indelible mark on the world.
Dr. Coleman's book provides a compelling narrative, but it's essential to approach any historical account with a critical eye, remembering that every author brings their own perspective and interpretation. We encourage you to delve deeper into the source material and draw your own conclusions.
We've offered a glimpse into the Rothschild saga, but the real deep dive begins when you explore those primary sources, those historical breadcrumbs that lead to a richer understanding.
And as you embark on that exploration, remember this. The Rothschilds understood the power of information. They thrived on secrecy, manipulated narratives, and ultimately shaped history in profound ways.
So, dear listener, as you continue your exploration, consider this. In our age of information overload, how can we become discerning consumers of history, separating fact from fiction and uncovering the hidden agendas that continue to shape our world?
Until our next deep dive, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep seeking a deeper understanding of the forces that have shaped our world.